Hey everybody, and welcome to the first inaugural episode of Nick and Nate plus more. I am Nick.
I am more. No, I'm Nate.
You are more.
I am
more than there was
I'm
before. Let's get into the episode. Hey Nate.
Hey Nick.
Did you watch that Turning Red movie?
I did.
It's a good movie, isn't it? Well, I have daughters, so I've seen it 15 times probably.
Fair. That'd be accurate. Statement.
So I mean, this is actually like a really good movie, but we're in a weird time right now where like there was a lot of people who are actually just getting upset with it and everything. But you know, we'll talk about that in a little bit. First off, tell me what was your thoughts on it?
I loved it, and I remember going into this, seeing some of the outrage, primarily being the one reviewer who was like, I couldn't relate to this whatsoever because it was so niche about an Asian family in Toronto. It's like I'm a white man who's afraid of his. So it's like going into it, I was like, okay, like that was my first perspective of it, and then the whole thing of
it's like you poor thing. There are absolutely no movies where you can relate to a white person. I mean, it's so little that who can really. You'd have to be an archaeologist and find it in a dump somewhere to actually find someone with a white protagonist. My word!
But no, in terms of Pixar movies, it's definitely up there. I think it is definitely one of those more important movies, and let me just put it like this. I don't think I've ever seen any visual representation as perfect of breaking the cycle and just like that indication of that feeling of not being good enough to someone who is at that mindset of, you know, someone who's being 13 years old. Never seen anything as perfect as that. And that scene itself was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And
the fact that it was actually set in the 2000s, made it hit home for me. And hey, that's weird. I'm not Asian or in Toronto or, and I totally like being in that like flip phones and all that, like that totally connected with me as far as like, you know, also I'm not a woman, but I really connected with the character. Tell me what you think, but I think one of my favorite parts is how there was so much like anime influences, like the way their eyes would well up when they got really excited, the way that like sweat would go down them. It was so anime, but like when I think anime, I think of like action scenes and stuff like that. Yeah. But she would do something like just like haha, and it would do like this anime like gust of wind or something like that. And I'm like, that's so cool. And they used it in such interesting ways that it was just like it spoke to the nerd inside me as far as like, okay, I can relate to that. Because like when I would do something weird like that in my head, that's what was going on, is these like anime like
and there was one part when the concert was happening where they were floating out, you know, off of the stage and you couldn't see the wires. And at first I was like, well, that's kind of, and then I went, well, no, because that's exactly how a 13-year-old would see that happening. Right. And, but yeah, what was her friend's name? Who was Korean?
Ooh, I don't know.
We're going to go to IMDb, so we're not.
Yeah, let's not flub it up with our racism.
The one, while I'm looking this up, when me and my girlfriend were watching that last night, she was it was the scene with Miriam. I don't remember which scene it was. Yeah, it was something that was, I think it was when one of the scenes they were in the bathroom, she was like, oh, she's totally a lesbian, or she's like totally bisexual, or like she's totally has that persona.
The Indian chick, not the Korean one.
No, I'm talking about the Miriam's the white one with the beanie. The one with the braces.
Well, no, because the Indian one, they just come out and straight up. Well, I mean, they don't say it, but she's dancing with that emo or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, it was clear that they were setting her up to be the lesbian.
Did you sound more like a boomer?
What?
Is it dancing with an emo? Could you sound more like a boomer?
Hey, shut up, you kids and your hip hop.
Anyway, her shorter friend, who we're having a really hard time figuring out what her name was, she made me laugh so hard the entire time. And she was kind of a perfect example of that anime sort of aesthetic. Like, a lot of her actions were super stylized. And
I mean, the first time you see her, she's like throwing something.
Yeah. But I saw a meme today that was like, everyone's talking about, all this stuff turning red. He's like, can we talk about the food appreciation in this movie? Right. And like the whole scene when her dad's cooking for the first time, I turned over, I was like, they just totally were flexing like, hey, we can make this animation look as real as possible. Because I don't think I've ever seen animated food look that good
in the middle of our Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a good, and I think
Fair,
I'm going to tell you a quick story because my wife's mom called up, and she had heard some stuff from she hadn't seen the movie yet, and so she calls up my wife, and she's like, "Is it about your period?" And I'm like, I mean, that's a joke in the movie, but no, that's not what it's about. I mean,
a joke. You want to talk about emotional damage? Like the scene whenever she's at the school being a creeper. First off, like that was hilarious. He was like, "Mom, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't be here." Like, you forgot your pad. I'm like, oh my god.
I know, like my whole face went just red.
Yeah, but like for example, I still haven't seen Encanto. I know. I also still haven't seen. I've never seen Coco either. So there's still other ones that's been off.
I mean, after Encanto, I'm gonna be honest. Skip Coco. Like, I don't give a rat. Like, and Encanto is just so much better in so many ways. Like, Coco is this nice little. It does have similar themes as far as like gaslighting and like family trauma, generational trauma, but I just feel like Encanto just came along and did it way much better and actually made way better of a musical. Like, Coco was a musical, but it was a musical because he liked music. Does that make sense? So it's like if they do a movie about a person who's in a band, they have music in it, like Walk Hard. Not Walk Hard. What's the That's the parody one. What's the what?
Walk the Line.
There you go. Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix.
Bless you.
Thank you. I didn't think you were going to do it that time. You scared me for a second. But no, yeah, the one with Joaquin Phoenix, like, that is a musical, but it's a musical because he does performances, right? Whereas Encanto is a musical, right? I could see that on a Broadway play, and it would fit right in, right? What the hell was my point? My point is that Encanto is banging, and Coco is just like, okay, yeah, cool. Mm-hmm.
Now, did you see that there is people were pointing out a Coco connection?
A Coco connection?
A Coco connection. I don't remember the name of the kid, but the emo looking kid that she stares at when he goes up to his locker.
Oh yeah.
And the one, his shirt is the same band name and logo that's on the drum set.
Makes sense.
From Coco.
Makes sense. But, I mean, there's the whole Pixar theory. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So I could totally see that. Yeah.
But no, Turning Red is definitely one that I knew was gonna. It's weird because Soul, I really thought was profound when I watched it the first time. But when I watched it the second time, I was like, I'm like, it's not my favorite Pixar movie.
Okay.
But this I can easily see being one of those that's like automatically cemented at a locked in spot,
right?
On the list. Like it's.
Oh, hold on. Is the Kiss on there as well?
No.
Come on.
Because your kiss
is on my list. No, I totally agree. It is one of the better ones. The only thing is, if we're rating Pixar movies according to what made me cry, Turning Red didn't even make me whimper. Like, it definitely hit my feelings. Like, oh my God. Like, I think seeing the mother cry, like, towards the end or whatever, that got me. Like, oh, whoa. Like, and that goes back to that, like, family and generational trauma that is, like, so real for millennials and Gen Zers at this point in time. But yeah, seeing her mom cry, like, got me close, but just like, if I'm not bawling, like, I think that's one thing bad recently about Pixar's. We're going on a tangent. That's one thing bad about Pixar recently is that, like, I used to cry so, like, the end of Toy Story 3 is obviously, like, the pinnacle of all examples that you need. And or the beginning of Up. Like Pixar basically is like, they wanted to challenge themselves, right? They wanted to challenge themselves. Can we get people to cry within the first 5 minutes? And I bet there was a couple who were like, there's no way we could do that. Sure enough, they couldn't have a child, but they still made it work. Like, oh yeah, my God, yeah.
This is one for sure that and like I told you before, like after I watched it, or we were talking on the phone or something, I was like, it just made me more mad. And you're like, why did it make you mad? And I was like, because I literally can't figure out why people want to censor this. I literally cannot figure out what,
I guess, okay, we might have to get into the controversial place. Okay, so hey everybody, we love it. Now let's get into the controversy. What? People want to censor it?
Well, no one specifically has said that they want to like censor this and like get rid of it by any means. But like, I'm talking about Duncan. I'm talking about the fact that people are like, there's your blah blah blah. Because like, here's the thing: the people who are fucking complaining about this movie and thinking that kids shouldn't watch it are the same people who say, "Hey, I don't want to pay attention to you. Here's an iPad. I don't care what you watch."
I'm so confused. People don't want their kids watch. Why? Okay, there's maybe one thing that as a parent, like, I'm like, oh, okay. And that was like the very beginning when she's all like, you should totally respect your parents. Just kidding. I'm going to do what the fuck I want. So it's like, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, that's not what it's actually about.
Your reaction is puzzling to me. When on the doc, when you typed controversy, what are you talking about when it comes to controversy?
Well, I just heard that a lot of people didn't like it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, people are like, they're making a stink about it. Like, parents are making a stink about it. Like, they shouldn't be watching. They shouldn't be talking about, periods. They shouldn't be blah 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 blah. And then there was like,
my God,
there was this post someone made that's like, broke it down. It's like, hey, you're talking about like, the sexualization of the teen boys or whatever. And they're like, hey, you want to know who does that? 13-year-olds. You want to know who says crap? 13-year-olds. And like she was like, I guarantee you 13-year-olds say a lot worse than that.
Oh yeah.
And like just going down this list of like basically calling out people being hypocrites. But that's my point, is like, after watching it fully, because going into it, I was thinking that the movie was an entire like metaphor or analogy.
Metaphor. Yeah, it was a metaphor
for her getting her period. Now I know it's a coming of age fully film and about breaking the cycle and about becoming your own person.
That is what's so frustrating. Like the story I told you, somebody coming to me and be like, it's about her getting a period. It's like, okay, if all you took out of that is, ooh, big red monster means period, you obviously didn't actually watch the movie. Just, if that's what you got out of it, then you took one look at one thing and you made up your mind about it, right? Instead of actually watching the movie, because what the movie is a coming of age. Yes, it's in around when she's 13. Yes, that is when a lot of women do have their period. But that is not what this is about. Like, there is jokes about it. There is alluding to it. But yeah, it's about finding who you are and becoming that person. You know, I mean, the metaphor, for me at least, like, I guess I'm just a big brain, you know, dude over here, but the metaphor is so obvious. It's about finding that part of you and not wanting to let it go. Because here's the thing, I was talking about this with my wife. Okay, if the movie is about getting your period, if that's all it is and that's all the metaphor is, there's a ritual, quotes, everybody, ritual to get rid of your period. So are you saying that this movie is about a cult of women getting hysterectomies to their 13-year-olds? Because that's the only way you're not going to have your fucking period, guys.
Yeah. No,
let's dig a little deeper, okay? like don't look at everything as surface value. If that's all you do for movies, then all they are is just moving pictures with colors.
I want to have faith in humanity on a daily basis, but on a daily basis, A, I'm proven wrong. B, I'm proven that there are so many fucking people that don't have critical thinking skills at all, all. And we'll get into that later because I have a very, very interesting story that happened yesterday. The whole ththing of the matter is, like, this movie's great. Watch it, show your kids it, and I can guarantee you, if there is that this movie is going to be so important for maybe not as many girls directly, but for a lot of people. And like I said, the same thing about the Miss Marvel show. Like, it's going to have representation for girls who have and for just people who have never had any kind of representation that they could attach to. So, like, it's one of those that, again, Pixar is just showing that they know what they're doing and that they are top tier echelon of animation.
I mean, let's also put it this way. I guess I don't go to church, or I'm not the right demographic to get pissed off at this, because I watched it with my daughter. My daughter is going to be turning 7, so she's able to comprehend a lot, you know, and, like, I don't think she asked a question about a period afterwards, but if she would have, it wouldn't have been like, Pixar!
Yeah.
Like, how dare you make me have a conversation with my kids? Oh my gosh. You mean I have to talk to them, not just feed them? So, yeah. Okay, so actually, I think one of the main controversies I've heard about is Disney not condoning or not disavowing. What? Am I saying words?
Yeah, you were saying the correct.
Disney didn't condone or condemn. They didn't condemn Russia for what they're doing. Instead, they made one of those bullshit statements where they're like, we don't take a stance one way or the other. So that pissed a lot of people off. And so, like, there's this post on Twitter where it was like them celebrating on the red carpet. That was stupid. Sorry. But they were celebrating on the red carpet, and I go into the comments and there are people, oh yeah, well, too bad you won't condemn, Putin for what he's doing or whatever. And it's like, I get it. I can see it from both sides, right? Like, a company not going against a dictator invading another country or whatever, even though, you could be like, oh, there's so many nuances. But, like, I can get it from that side. But at the same time, like, the person who created that movie, the director, like, she was, like, telling her story. So even though, yes, Disney signed the check, Disney distributed it, right? It's not necessarily Disney's story to tell. And so for everybody to just take such a black and white outlook on it and be like, well, I'm going to not like this movie because Russia. So, like, Russia ruined turning red. So, like, that was the one controversy I heard. You bringing up the whole thing about the periods, like, I didn't even know that was a thing, honestly.
Yeah, there was an outcry from, I guarantee, probably far-right parents who are just like, blah, blah, blah. Again, that's the confusing part. It's the same fucking people who give their kids an iPad and they're like, blah, 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 do whatever. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to fucking pay attention. Like, and it's like, you want to actually take away something that's good for them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it's good to have uncomfortable conversations, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, when Zoe Ann does something wrong, I don't just say, hey, go to your room. I mean, I'll do that too, right? But then I walk in there. I sit down. I'm like, hey, do you know why that's wrong? And then I have a conversation with her, and I have to explain to her, I love you. You're not in trouble because of this. It's just that, this isn't safe, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do this because, and I teach her, because that's what a parent should do. I mean, now if something came out, which I haven't personally seen it, maybe it exists, but if something came out and was just straight up telling you you're gay and you need to tell your parents to fuck off and come join us on an island or something, I'd be like, okay, hold on. could you not tell my kid that? Like, but that doesn't exist. Just like nobody goes around and puts wigs on and goes into bathrooms just because, oh, well, I didn't, like that doesn't happen. That's a scary ghost story that you try to tell people to justify your actions. And that just doesn't. Yeah. So yeah, I totally get why maybe some people would get upset about, oh, period or whatever. But it's like, if you actually, like, these people, once again, have you seen the movie? Because yes, there are parts about it in the movie. Yes, there are parts. The whole thing with the pads, right? But like to boil it down to that is such a stupid thing. It's like when there's a controversy about something, and people just immediately like Lord of the Rings. Okay, here we go. You ready to go down the rabbit hole? Lord of the Rings has black people. And people on the internet like, wait a second, J.K. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien didn't have black people in his writing, so that means, ergo. And they always try to like cover it up like, I'm not racist, but J.R.R. Tolkien was, so obviously we have to respect him for being racist, which I'm not saying J.R.R. Tolkien's... I'm not saying that he is. Like, I'm just saying that, well, because there were nothing but white people, and that means that nothing but white people could ever be in everything that is ever even just remotely Lord of the Rings. Everyone has to be white. And that little faux outrage, because, like, who the hell actually cares? Now, if there's a black person and they're like, oh, white people suck, and okay, yeah, maybe don't have a character in a movie, saying that, like equal rights, or I don't know, like you wouldn't want a character unless they're a villain. You wouldn't want a villain just being like, all black people suck. Don't take that out of context. Nobody clip that, please.
Clip.
But like, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, white people suck.
Nice recovery.
Stuck
the landing.
Right.